We are live. Hello, and welcome to another episode on the Walk Empower podcast. I'm your host, Carmen B, and I'm joined by my sister, my friend, my homie, Coach Cola, who
Hello,
I have,
hello.
yes, my girl. I invited Coach to be a part of this conversation because we are always engaged in conversation
Mhm.
about transformation. And my girl, so I was already thinking about what I was gonna do today and how I was gonna tie it back to my TED talk. And my girl just thinking about me was like, "Listen, you got to." I was like,
Yep.
"I'm on it with
Yep.
you," and I just really appreciate that. And that's really what sisterhood is about. And I'm just so
Exactly.
grateful to have you here. So, Coach, go on, say something to the people,
Hey,
say
hey
hello.
guys. Let's listen, I am honored to be here. Just like you said, we always are in conversation, and it's like you said, a sisterhood. The one thing you always say is when one of us win, we all win.
We
And the
all
way
win.
we all celebrate each other, it's amazing. It's inspiring.
Absolutely,
So being
absolutely, my sister.
here, being part of this conversation, like really getting our behind the scenes look. Because if anybody was in the audience, whoo,
Listen.
I mean, somebody should have been there just passing out paper towels. Because I don't know how many people came up to you, but the amount of
Yeah,
people I overheard
yeah,
saying that it brought emotions.
yeah. The TED Talk was that had to be one of the most besides having my babies. Doing that TED Talk was one of the most amazing and transformational experiences of my life.
Mm,
And like you said, hearing the emotions that the audience felt while listening, these are the emotions I felt while writing it, right? While
mm,
preparing for this talk. Because one part of me was remembering when I was in that space,
mhm,
when I was in that space, when I was in that survival mode, but also remembering my grandma and
mhm.
remembering that she never got to get out of that space. She never got to release and claim her power to create a life that would have been more fulfilling for her. And she probably didn't even know that her life wasn't fulfilling for her. That was
Right.
a norm, right? But just being able to share that story with the world,
Hmm.
it just meant everything to me to have you and all the girls and family in the crowd. It meant the world to me because this message wasn't for me.
Right.
This is a message I shared for others to really help others to begin to look at themselves and ask themselves, is the way I'm currently uh, striving towards success, is it
Mhm.
working for me? Am I really achieving what I want to accomplish? So in the spirit of staying in position,
All right.
okay, and keeping the keeping the momentum going, is having this conversation that tonight we are going deeper into grandma's recipe. And
Mm,
especially for those of you who were not able to be present for the TED Talk, here's your opportunity to learn more about that talk and how you can use or begin to come into awareness of how whatever recipes you're currently using, to ask yourself those questions of and becoming more intentional of, is this really working for me? Am I truly happy?
yeah.
Where I am right now, right? And these are the conversations me and Nicole have
Right.
regularly. Like, is this really what I want? Is this really where I want to be? Do I feel happy? Do I see myself doing this for the rest of my life? And how do we begin to make that shift? So, sis, thank you for being there. Thank you for
Of
your
course.
support.
Thank you for this message, right? Even
Yes,
like people even recognizing that there is a recipe.
there is a
It was just so many levels to this, and
yeah,
yeah, this is
yeah.
exciting.
And the
Everything you
beauty
think
is you were behind the scenes
about
in
it.
preparation with me, so watching me develop this and,
Mhm.
tighten it up and tighten it up, you really got to see my process,
Yes.
and I'm even more grateful for that. am even more excited for when I get to see your process, for
Right?
when you step on that stage, and for me to be there behind the scenes,
Yeah.
cheering you on, but supporting you as you develop your story and put out into the world what your story is and what that change is that you want to be and what you want to bring to others. So that's what I'm looking forward to for sure.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Right?
Let's speak that. Yeah, I appreciate the experience of just being there. But yeah,
Yes.
it's just like it's so funny. You said that we were like behind the scenes and we watched it and we watched it. But most of us, and you saw us in the audience when you delivered it, right? It's the delivery too you gave. Whew, like
Yeah.
I'm looking at, looking at other sisters, like you crying too, like as if we have never heard it before.
Yeah, right.
So
Yo,
it was just amazing. It was amazing. I'm excited. We got to get to it. I know, but like
yeah,
we could
I
just
but
stay,
listen, I
stay on
was
the
looking at our
impact.
girl. I was looking at our girl Mo,
Yes.
and I thought I saw her doing stuff, so I thought she was telling me like, "Yo, sis, fix your shirt." And I was about to. I'm like, I can't fix my shirt. I'm on stage,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
talking while I'm like, "Is she telling me?" And I'm like, "This girl's crying. This
Uh-huh.
girl is crying."
Yeah. Yeah, you brought it out. The impact
Yeah,
was amazing.
yeah, I
But
appreciate that.
it's like beyond. I think it further to reach because I remember one of the teachers even coming up to you about using some of the methods in the classroom,
Yeah,
like the
I
reach,
know.
the reach
I
of it,
know.
you
That
know?
was dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was dope. That was dope. So, I kind of posted online the other day also what got me to this point.
Okay.
What got me to the point of writing a TED Talk? What even got me to the point of saying I can do this? I'm going to bet on myself is my big recipe.
Mm-hmm.
It is my big recipe. And we're not going to talk about the big recipe tonight, y'all, but there's going to be a part two. Next week, we're coming back to talk about the big recipe. But it is the big recipe that really got me to this space and really what I'm hoping that will help others move to that more fulfilling life, to those more desired outcomes for themselves through that big recipe. And that is really what I want to be able to gift to women in leadership, right? To
Mm-hmm.
women who are coming and climbing up the ladder in their career while using that big recipe. But tonight, like I said, we're not talking about the big recipe. Tonight, we diving into root causes of the challenges we face on the journey to success. And I discovered that one of the root causes to my challenges was my grandmother's recipe, right? And sharing that was hard. I think what was hard about it too, sis, is some people will hear this and think, oh wow, her grandmother didn't do a good job.
Mm,
And that's not the message, right? Because I know my grandma did the best she could with what she had,
that's it.
right?
That's it.
However, sometimes there needs to be a shift,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not a bad thing, right? Transformation is necessary for growth,
There you go.
right?
Yeah.
And if we don't get to the root cause of the challenges, we'll just continue to cover it up with all types of band-aids, right? We,
Mm-hmm.
we, we do all the things thinking, okay, maybe if I do this, I'll get better. Maybe if I get another degree. And that was my journey. Get all the degrees, join
Right.
all the programs, get
Yep.
all the certificates, get all the accolades, collect, collect, collect,
Picture
thinking that
perfect.
right, right, that the more I do, the better I'll feel about myself and who I am, and the more attractive I will become to the world and to the market. But meanwhile, I was dying on the inside, right? I wasn't
Yeah.
happy by any means. And so the first ingredient, I'm just going to let me list out all three ingredients, right? So the three ingredients we talked about in regards to my grandmother's recipe was give without boundaries, hide your true feelings, and never ask for help, which I also say is the strong Black woman's recipe, right? Like that's the recipe
Mhm.
of the strong Black woman. And there may be so many other things that are in there, but this recipe just sums it up,
Yep, that's
right?
it. That's
That
it.
that is the strong Black woman recipe that we use in almost every dimension of our lives. And but we're focusing on our careers and how this recipe impacts our ability to experience real success, right? To
Mhm.
experience the type of success that brings joy, that brings happiness, that brings peace,
Yes.
right? That brings
Yep.
real fulfillment, right? And so let's talk about the first recipe sis. So the first recipe that is the give without boundaries.
Mm.
And really thinking about what does that look like for us in our career when we give without boundaries? What did that look like for you, sis?
Oh, exhaustion.
Oh,
First, that was the very
talk
first
about
thing.
it.
Yep. And not understanding it gave a feeling of just what I call the revolving door of life. You're going round and round. It almost starts to become robotic.
Yes.
You don't even realize it.
Right. That's that living on autopilot.
Autopilot, right?
Hmm.
And you're just going because now that's what you know. That's all you know.
That's right. That's all you
Right?
know.
Mm.
And when I think about how, right, like what does giving without boundaries look like, right? So that's that always being the first in and last out.
Yep.
Right? That's that. Oh, something needs to be done. I'll do it. I got it. No problem. I can take care of it. Right?
Hmm.
Even though you've already taken care of every other thing, and even though your to do list is already a mile long,
Yep.
you're still volunteering to do it, to take
Oh,
care of
yep.
things. Right?
Yep. That
Well,
overachiever.
yeah, now there you go. That
Overachiever.
overachiever. That is definitely, oh my God. If you look up give without boundaries, overachiever, the
There
overachiever's
you go.
face is right next,
Yep. Right there. Like,
right? Right there
yep.
doing the most. Um, because then I also think about when I was working, throughout my career, that giving also looked like whatever my staff asked for. Okay, no problem. I can do that. Oh yeah, I
Hmm.
can do that. Afraid to say no.
Yep.
Afraid to say no. Afraid to say, I can't do that, or I don't have the capacity to do that, or I'm too tired to do that, for fear of how it will be received.
Yep. You can't have your weak team. You can't have
Right,
a weak team, right?
right,
By any
right.
means necessary.
So if I don't
Mhm.
give, does that make me not a nice person, right? If I say no, if I set a
Mhm.
boundary around my time or what I'm willing to do, does that make me not a nice person? And these are the things that start to go through your head,
Yep.
right? Like I don't want people to be upset with me,
That's it.
right? I don't want my team members to think that I don't support them because I'm not saying yes. So I,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely was the yes supervisor. Like, oh, sure, no problem.
Yeah. I don't want to be
Yeah.
mean, right? I don't want to be mean.
Right. So
Yep.
these are all the things that go through our heads when we're thinking about giving without boundaries. But the other piece that comes to mind for me when we think about giving without boundaries is working for less than we deserve.
Your worth. Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
Right. So when we take these jobs believing that, well, at least I have a good job, even though I know they should be paying me more,
Come
even
on.
though I know, they should be treating me, I should have better benefits than this. So whatever, like even though I know I should be getting more, maybe if I just give,
Yep.
I'll receive it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so I'm gonna do all the extra things for that promotion. I'm
Yep.
gonna do all the extra things for that raise. I was talking with a client the other day who, she just got a promotion at work, but at the cost of her health. She, like,
Mm.
in her previous position, she worked so hard for that promotion that now that she got the promotion she thought she wanted, she's too tired to even do the job,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
Because the way she got there, the way she got the promotion for them is okay, if she worked this hard and here, she's going to work
Look.
even harder
Yep.
here,
Mm.
right? And so these are all the ways we show up in our careers of with the mindset of I'm gonna just pour and I'm gonna just give,
Right.
right? Because we don't believe that we're worth receiving, that we're worth setting boundaries. It's almost like I remember I was working for someone and he was like, "You should feel lucky to have this job."
Hmm.
You and at that time I was still on my journey, so I was like, maybe I should feel lucky to
Right.
have this job, and I want to keep it. So I'm going to do all the things. I want to keep this job. I want them to see that I'm worthy. Meanwhile, I don't see anyone else working this hard. I don't see, the men working this hard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see my white counterparts working this hard. But I'm here feeling like I have to constantly prove myself.
Yeah.
Have you had that experience?
Oh, for sure. All the time. Another thing I was just thinking too is that, even when we go and talk to like our moms, our older generation, because that give without boundaries, that ingredient is so embedded and in our elders, that the message you receive is, pretty much stay. Right.
Yeah,
It's you're gonna be good. You need them
yeah,
benefits. You need them
yeah.
benefits.
Oh my gosh.
you
It's
know? So
it's
you
so
start to think that gets in your mind too.
it's so funny that you brought that up because I remember talking to an elder in my family about what I was experiencing at work and how I was beginning to feel so burnt out and I was really contemplating leaving. And she was like, "Why would you do that? You
Mm,
know, how are you going to survive if you leave that job? How are you going to get benefits?" And it was like in my mind I was like, "Wow,
yeah,
I'm telling you that this job is literally killing me.
telling me. Mm,
I am struggling. I am going through a depression. I know that my job is a big, and I'm not going to say it was 100% contributor, but it was a big part of it. And
mhm,
you're encouraging me to stay. And that's what strong Black women do.
yep,
We endure pain because we believe we can handle it,
yep,
right?
exactly.
It's hard, but you know what? I've been through harder things than this,
Mhm,
right? So I'm so glad that you brought that up because that is so true. Because
yeah,
they're going to continue to reinforce the recipe,
yep,
right? They're going to continue to reinforce the recipe. But the other thing that comes to mind is when you're a person that gives without boundaries, then you don't know boundaries. So you don't
mm,
know how to encourage your team to set boundaries,
no,
right? So if you have a struggle with setting boundaries, if you're a person that constantly gives without those boundaries, you almost have the expectation of others to do the same because you're like, this is what
100%.
we do.
Mhm,
What do you mean you can't do it? What do you mean
right,
you can't stay late? What do you mean you can't work overtime? Like, don't you want your job? Don't you want to show that you're good enough? Because this is the mentality.
yep,
We have to prove ourselves.
yep,
So
exactly.
now we place that pressure on the people around us. And not only are we burning out, but we're also burning
Yeah,
out the people who are working for us. We're also burning out our team because the same way we see ourselves is how we see them.
right, exactly. And not even know how to handle someone who may have boundaries that you interact with
Absolutely.
because it's so foreign to you.
It's
It's
so foreign.
almost shocking,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
A little bit of a mesmer. I remember like, damn, I wish. But how could you?
Right? Like I wish I could say that, but if I did what she did, I might be fired. Like that's the
That's it.
mentality we go through. And so we continue to follow the recipe.
The recipe.
Um, oh my gosh, that is so crazy. All right. So diving into the second
Okay.
ingredient of this recipe is I'm sorry, I just had another thought in my head, and that thought was competing with what I was trying to say.
Yeah, see that? That's how it be when we be
So,
talking to. That's
yeah,
it.
man. So
No.
it's hiding your true feelings.
Mm.
Hiding your true feelings. What I love about how this connects with giving without boundaries is we give without boundaries when we really want to say no. It's like, oh yeah, I'll do it. And in your head, you're like, God damn it.
Yep.
You're building the resentment. You're
Yep.
feeling angry. Like, "Well, they always asking me to do stuff. Like I don't have something else to do. Why you don't say that?" Right. And so that goes in line with the inability to set boundaries, and you're hiding how you truly feel.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to do it. And you got people say, "Oh, she has such a big heart." I really don't, though.
No.
I'm tired.
Exactly. My heart is weighed down, but they don't see that.
Way, way. And I can only just, I can remember all the times I wanted to say no, but was afraid to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you think about a time in your career where you wanted to say no, or you had another feeling like you wanted to be paid more, or there was
Mm-hmm.
something you want, but you was afraid to say it. Like, can you remember a time in your career where you went through that?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Phew, I think probably a few times. Matter of fact, it got even deeper that you go here. It was a time in my career where for the first time, I got some guts to go for a position,
Mm,
right? I got some guts to go for the position. And, went for it. Qualifications, all of that, I had it in the bag. I just knew that. And I didn't get it, right?
mm,
So now I had to muster up again to ask why, right? And asking why. And when I asked why, I think it might have been it has been one of the most traumatizing moments in my life,
mm.
honest, because I asked why. So that took me. That was a while
Yeah.
ago, but that took me, right? Because when I asked why, it had nothing to do with my qualifications. It had
Mm.
nothing to do with, um, you know, experience.
Yeah.
I wa-
Yeah.
I was handed a piece of paper, and the paper has first what I saw was ebonics. And I'm like,
What?
wow, ebonics. I said,
Are you,
oh, so this is about the way I speak,
are you
right?
serious?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Then the conversation got worse. It got worse because it started to now point in to my attire, how I dress.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, but
that
you was
they
telling
oh
me that I didn't get the position because you feel like I don't look the part. I don't speak. What?
yeah.
That took me. It
And
took me a
and
while to recover from that, to be
yeah,
honest with you. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it's still
it's
triggering,
still linked. Absolutely. It's triggering, it's
but
traumatizing,
yeah, that's what I thought about that moment.
but also reaffirming the sense of worthlessness.
That
Right.
right,
Right.
start to
Reaffirming.
question. You
Yeah.
definitely start to. It makes you question. Like, do I
Right.
talk a certain, or
Right.
should
Do
I
I
be
need to work
doing?
on this?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I'm not good enough. And that's what you hear. But also receiving that response will cause you to go even further into, I'm not going to ask for anything.
Yeah,
I'm going to hide how I truly feel. I'm just going to come here and just do whatever they ask me to do. And that rejection, that those words, just first of all, the reasoning that they gave behind why you were not hired,
mm-hmm.
which for you is like, okay, so I'm good enough to speak ebonics, and I'm good enough to dress just to be in your company, but I'm not good enough to lead or have
Be
a
in the
higher
forefront.
position. Right.
Exactly.
And so that will also take a great hit to your self-esteem
Mm-hmm.
and continue those negative thoughts in your mind about who you are and who you are not.
Yeah,
Right. Which again goes back to turning up the heat on the recipe. So
that's
now
it.
that you're telling me I'm not good enough, I'm going to give more without boundaries to show you that I can do this. I'll go out and change my wardrobe. I'll go out and do the things. So
Exactly.
like I'll start working on all the things to prove to you
Yep.
that I can be good enough for this role.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll go get certifications that
I'll
I'll look back at now like, why did
right,
I?
right, right.
You
I'll
know?
do all the things
Yep.
so that I can be more attractive and acceptable to you.
Yep.
Right. And again, another hit to your self-esteem and to your confidence. When I think about the times that I hid my true feelings, I'll never forget when I first started in my last director level role, and they gave me this task, this redundant, mundane, like when I say it, I'm like in my head, why am I doing this?
Mm,
I mean, it was just the most ridiculous task. Hey, hey, right? It was the most ridiculous task that I felt there was so many more important things I should be focused on. And this is what you have me doing. And the task took so long. It was so time consuming. And
mm,
I said to my supervisor, well, I know that you want this done by this time, but there's really no way I can get this done within the time frame that you gave me.
mm-hmm,
So I may have to stay late. He said, okay, well, I can't pay you overtime. That's just our policy. So if you want to stay late, you can. And I wanted to say, are you serious?
hmm,
So you know that I can't get this done. And this one is my first time doing it. So I'm learning how to do it, but it's also just such a ridiculous task
mm-hmm,
that really is something that our assistants should be taking care of. And you're telling me, yeah, you can stay and work late until it gets done, but you won't be getting overtime. And I had so many words,
hmm.
so many words for him. But what I said was, oh, no problem. It's fine. I'll get
Mm-hmm.
it done.
Yep.
And when
See?
he left, I was so angry, and I wasn't
Mm,
only angry with him, I was angry with myself for
yes.
not being able to speak up and not having the courage to say, "This does not make sense." But as I grew in my power, that this was a task that had to be done annually. I broke it up in fours and gave it to four different people.
There you
Please
go.
get this done. Because one, this is not something one person should be doing and taking them a whole 2 weeks to do. You
Right.
know, if I could break this up in four parts and give it to four people and it can be done in 2 days, we need to work smarter and not harder,
Water. There you
right?
go.
But it was just like when I look back at moments like that and how many moments like that I had in my career and how many times I bit my tongue, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many times I bit my tongue just because I wanted to be seen as a good employee,
Yep.
right?
And
I
smile.
wanted I wanted to be regarded as, yes, we made the right decision hiring this person. And
Exactly.
for the first year or two, they felt that way until I started saying,
Yes.
"This, no,
No.
I ain't doing that."
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
No.
Exactly. And we know you cannot, when you're not in the right environment for you.
And that's the thing. And so I love that you brought that up. We're gonna go into that.
I know, sorry,
Right.
sorry.
I know. I'm really happy that you brought that. We're definitely gonna talk about that. So we talked about the first ingredient, which
Yes.
is giving without boundaries, going into the job, giving your all, and then some, doing tasks that are way above your pay grade, that you're not getting paid for, that you're not getting recognized for, but you're giving just to prove yourself. We talked
Yep.
about hiding your feelings, right? Like
Yep.
biting your
The
tongue,
mask. Mm-hmm.
not not telling people how you truly feel, or even telling people what you truly need to be able to do your job and be successful at your job. Hey,
Yep.
hey, hey, thank you for joining, right?
Yeah.
And that's the other piece when we talk about hiding our feelings, is when it comes to us as Black women who are aspiring to climb the career ladder and really abandoning so much of who we are in order to climb that ladder. We don't ask for what we truly need to be successful,
No.
right? Maybe I need some more coaching. Maybe, you know what, you guys are having me do this is pretty new for me. Can you please put me on a training program for this?
Yep.
Maybe I, whatever it is, maybe I need more time, whatever. But we're so afraid to ask for what we need because we want to put on the strong Black woman cape
Yep.
and show up as the most capable person,
Right. But no
right?
space. No space for help at all.
No space for help.
No space.
No space for vulnerability. How about that?
That part. Mm.
Right?
Yes.
Most is with using this recipe, trying to prove yourself, there is no space for vulnerability to
No.
really say, you know what, this is really challenging, or to
Hmm.
really say, you know what, I don't feel like I should be doing this. You
No.
know, I don't feel like this is what I signed up for, when I don't see this nowhere on my job description. So I'm not understanding why it's being requested of me. We're afraid to push back
Yeah. Oh, for
because it's
sure.
right. Like
Right. Because we got
this,
that face, just
yes.
that stern face.
But all of those thoughts are here,
Oh yeah.
right? So when you're afraid to push back and when you're afraid to really share how you feel, the thoughts are still here. They're still
Hmm.
playing over and over in your mind, like, damn, I should have said that. Why
Yep.
didn't I say something? Why didn't I speak up for myself? And the less you speak up for yourself, the less you're protecting yourself, the greater your confidence begins to decline, right? The great
Exactly.
that didn't sound right.
Do
The
it.
more your confidence declines, right?
That's right. There you
Right,
go. You
right.
got it. Right.
Um,
Right. And you
and
got me
so
thinking. Sorry. Just when
no,
you
go
said
ahead.
that about the thoughts in your head, you right. They're constantly there, right?
They're
And,
constantly
and
there.
at the loudest is
Yes,
when it's silent, when you're not moving,
absolutely,
when you're sitting. So what
absolutely.
do? We go to also try to silence
Right,
all that's going in your mind too.
right.
So that exhausted, like you said, this
It's exhausting,
exhausting.
and we use that famous phrase. It is what it is.
It is
You
what it
know,
is.
right? And what it is fear. That's what it is, right? Like if we're
Mm,
gonna call it out, what it is fear, right? Fear of being rejected, not realizing you already being rejected, sis, right? When someone's taking advantage of your time, taking advantage of your skill, taking advantage of who you are as an individual, taking advantage of your kindness to want to be successful, taking advantage of your inspiration. I feel like because you have an aspiration to be great,
right.
and they see your hunger,
Yep.
right? They see your hunger to be great. They see your hunger to be one of the best at your job, to do things really well. And so that is taken advantage of. Oh, she'll do it. Oh,
Yep.
give it to her. She'll do it. Oh,
Yep.
trust me. Trust
Yep.
me. If you ask her, she'll say yes, she'll do it.
Yep.
Right.
Oh
And so
yeah.
that, but you realize and you know you're being taken advantage of, but you're afraid to speak up for yourself.
Yes. Exactly.
Right.
Fear will keep you stuck.
Stuck. And then you abandon yourself, you abandon your authentic voice, and over time you begin to lose your voice. and,
Mhm.
and we're gonna go into the mental health, but that's
Yes.
where everything else comes in, right? And like you said, those voices in your head, they get louder, but you also begin to build resentment towards the people you're saying yes to,
Oh
the
yeah.
people you're hiding your feelings from. You believe that if I speak up this will happen, but how do you know if you haven't even spoken up,
Hmm.
right? Okay,
Exactly.
okay.
Exactly.
Listen,
Or you
no.
believe that they should know not to ask you.
Oh, that's my favorite one. That's my
You
they
should
should
know
already know. How should they know,
how.
right?
Right.
We often have this belief, oh, they should know better than that. They should
Hmm.
know I'm tired. How would they know you're tired if you have a
Mhm.
smile on your face and you're saying, "Yes, I got it."
Let's
You
go.
that don't look tired to me,
No.
right? How would
Mhm.
they know if you have not found the courage to say, "This is what I need. This is how I feel." Right?
Mhm.
Yeah, oh, we can stay on that forever.
Yep.
So
You
now
know it.
diving in to the last ingredient in this recipe is never ask for help. Right?
Mm.
Never asking for help. And that's a big one. That's a big one. Because when we think about never asking for help, we think about, oh, help with getting, tasks done, or
Yep.
help with, getting certain things done. And yes, that is a part of it. But we also never ask for help for making a transformation in how we're doing things. I
Mhm.
need to learn a new way of doing things. We can ask for help for tasks, but at the end of the day, tasks are always going to be there. So we can say, oh, I need help with a task, or
Right.
you know, whatever. But what about the help that goes deeper?
Yes.
right? At one thing I know for a lot of women in leadership, especially Black women who are newly stepping into leadership roles, they struggle to even adopt the leadership identity. If you are
Mhm.
just stepping into leadership roles, or even if it's a new leadership role, it's being able to see yourself as a leader. What does that mean? What does that look
Exactly.
like? Right?
Right.
How do you develop that mindset shift to begin to step fully into your leadership authority, right? Like into your leadership position, into showing up as a leader, into communicating as a leader.
Yep.
And that can be a challenge for someone who is still trying to find their way in leadership. Yes, on paper, you're a leader. Your experiences have made you qualified for the
Right.
position. But if are you mentally qualified for the position?
Right. Exactly.
Right. And so when you're struggling with confidence in your leadership role, which I remember when I first stepped into my first leadership role, I went from the associate to the manager of a shelter, but the people who I was managing were once my associates. They were struggling to
Mm,
see me as their supervisor,
yep.
and I was struggling to assert myself as their supervisor because now I've been kind of friends with
Mm-hmm.
these folks for so long. And now I have to do a shift of saying, listen, I need you to get this done. And for them, it's like, who you talking to? It's like, I'm talking to you.
Right.
Right. And so it's developing or having the support you need to even understand how to embrace the leadership identity.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
That requires a mindset shift. But we will not ask for that type of help because it makes us look what? Weak.
Weak. Makes us look weak, right?
It makes you look weak.
Unsure, unsure
Uh,
and weak,
Right.
right?
So it's
Mm,
like if you're unsure, if you're uncertain of how to lead these people, if you don't know how to assert yourself as a leader, why are you a leader?
right.
Listen, leaders need training too.
Yeah, exactly.
Leaders need coaching.
Yep.
Leaders are lifelong learners. And if you are a new leader, a mid level leader, you're dealing with so many personalities. So
Yeah.
many, oh my God, you're dealing with personalities, you're dealing with shifts in the economy. And so
Yep.
there's always opportunities to learn, right, in order to improve your leadership skills, but also your leadership mindset.
That
Leadership
part.
is a mindset.
It is. And it's an acceptance too. It's like, you got to accept yourself as a leader. I
Absolutely.
think, it's we all have these unique characteristics that make us who I am, you know, that makes you,
Absolutely.
me. And that is what the leader is, right? So
Absolutely.
we're talking about you accepting a description beyond what that paper says
Absolutely.
that describes what a leader should be.
Absolutely. Describes like you said, what a leader should be, but
Yep.
also what your style of leadership is.
That is. And
Right?
accept it.
How
Hmm.
do you want to lead? You
Right.
know, being able to identify as a leader what's needed in this space and how can your leadership style contribute to moving people in the right direction.
That's
That
it.
is going to look different for every leader. But as Black women stepping into leadership roles, you're afraid to say, here's what I'm struggling with. I'm
Mm,
excited about this position, and here's where I can use a little more support as I'm stepping into and embracing this leadership role. And like we said earlier, there's fear of asking for that level of help. Again, we can ask for help with tasks. We can ask you to explain
yep.
this Excel spreadsheet. But can you ask for the help you need to shift your mindset?
Yeah, right, exactly. And then that fear of being vulnerable.
That's it.
Like, it's like, no, I am not about to give you a way in to take me down.
That's it. I'm not about to make me feel stupid.
Right. Nope.
I'm not about to let you make me feel inadequate. So this is what happens when we get in that space, when we're afraid to ask for help for
Mm-hmm.
fear of people putting us down, is we do the fake it till you make it,
They
right?
continue with it. Yep.
But what happens? You kind of fail to the top, right?
Mm,
And while we can fail forward, if there's things that we can avoid, because at the end of the day, as a leader, there are people who are relying on you.
Right.
There are people who are relying on your guidance, on your leadership to support them. And I believe as leaders, it's our job to develop leaders, right? To
Oh
lead
yeah.
people to
Hmm.
become leaders in their own aspect, even if they're not necessarily in this leadership role.
Yeah.
I always like to find an opportunity for my staff to lead. Okay,
Right.
you're the lead on this. You just tell me what you need, right?
Right.
But people are still relying on your guidance. And if you are not sure of yourself, if you are feeling uncertain about any part of your leadership and you're afraid to ask for the support you need to build your confidence,
Yeah.
you will stay stuck and you will lose the trust of the people who are working alongside you.
Exactly. And then eventually they stray. Right. And then, but you don't know why. So now you're
Right.
starting to still question your leadership.
You start to question your
Am,
leadership.
am I capable? Or like you said, what do I got to do? How do I fix this?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
especially if you don't have a vigilant leader above you who can maybe recognize what you
Yes.
need and say, you know what, here's what I'm noticing in your leadership. Here's what I'm noticing in
Hmm.
your day to day. And here's how I want to support you. Or here is some resources to help you with that. If you don't have that and you're just feeling stuck, you don't even feel that you are a leader because you're
Right.
like things are not working. My team does not trust me.
Right.
I'm not building a strong team. We're not successful. We're not achieving our goals. I'm not retaining employees. There's turnover. My employees are not engaged. I am failing as a leader.
Right.
And the reality is, not asking for help, you are failing as a leader.
100%.
Bec-
Sorry.
because your team also needs to be able to ask you for help.
Hmm.
And you are no better than them. At the end of the day, we're all humans and we all need help,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
But with the strong black woman Kate, boy,
Mm-mm. We don't
ain't
even know
no
what that
such
means.
thing. ain't,
What's
ain't no
up?
such thing. And I mean, and we're afraid to ask for help. Like I'm gonna have a vulnerable truth moment.
Let's go.
When as I was preparing for this TED talk, and I'm like, I need help. And I want to ask my friends if they would take time to listen to me share my talk and critique and just give me an opportunity to practice in front of them. Then the thoughts came of, girl, people are busy. Girl, you
Hmm.
can do this. You don't need to do all that. Girl, ain't nobody got time for that. All the things that came to say, you don't need to ask for help. You got this. You will go through this. And I had to fight that and shoot a text and say, if anybody's available,
Hmm.
to help me out. And lo and behold, of course, I mean, I knew my girls would come through. Like that's a given. But it really requires me to have the courage to say, can you help me?
Right.
And to be vulnerable enough to say, I can't do this alone.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
When we think about leadership, the one phrase you always hear in leadership is, it's lonely at the top. I don't need that thumbs up. Get out of here. It's lonely at the top. Have you ever heard that phrase?
All the time. All the time.
The reality is we make it lonely at the
That
top,
part.
right? Because of our fear of being vulnerable, really asking for what we need, sharing our true feelings, we begin to work in our own bubble and we stick there to ourselves because we're afraid that for people to know, here's what I'm really experiencing. So I'm going to stay to myself so no one gets to really know what I'm going through
Yeah.
right now.
And there's another layer of that too when I think about the fear, right? Because if you would have sent that text message and nobody responded at all after you said, I know my girls, right? A lot of
Yeah.
people would have took that and again start to question themselves. I need to
Yes.
go on my bubble because I don't have anybody.
And you
Instead of
go right, oh my God, you
right,
go
but
back
you
in the bubble.
go back in the bubble, but you need that mind shift to say, what I'm learning from this is I gotta audit the people who I have around me.
Period. I see. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, and that's the
You,
mind shift.
yes, you put yourself out there, you take a bet, and you review the results.
That's
You
it.
review the results, you learn from the results.
Learn.
Okay, what am I learning from this? What is this experience teaching me? If none of my friends are willing to show up, are willing to support me, are these really the people I need in my life? Do I need to identify a new tribe? Do I really need to identify the type of people that want to be in supportive relationships? Because I
Mhm.
don't want to say the type of people that will support me. I want to
Right.
say the type of people that will be in supportive relationships. And I
Yeah.
think, especially when it comes to women in
Yeah.
leadership,
Yeah.
it's so important to identify other women
Yes.
in leadership who can share experiences with you, but also share resources. If you say, hey, sis, this is what I've really been struggling at work, they can say, oh, I've been through that. Let
Yeah.
me tell you, right?
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. But choosing, I mean, I even think about my leadership program, my coaching program. And I never forget a lady who got on a call and she was like, so who's going to be in there? Because I don't really like telling people my business. And I was like, well,
Mhm.
sis, if that's how you feel, this is not for you. But this was a person who was not ready to be vulnerable and say, I'm struggling.
Staying in the bubble. She needed to
Stay
stay in
in the
her
bubble.
bubble.
Stay in
Mhm.
the bubble. And I will tell you, as long as you are in the bubble, you will struggle. You will
Hmm.
struggle.
Say that
And
again.
understanding again the root cause of you being in the bubble. And the root cause for me was the recipe,
Mm.
right? The root cause for me was you're a strong black woman. You don't need all that support,
That's it.
right? So we did a deeper dive into the three ingredients. And I'm gonna say them again for y'all who may be just logging on. But we did a deeper dive into the three ingredients of give without boundaries, hide your true feelings, and never ask for help. And we talked
Hmm.
about how these three ingredients have showed up in our lives, in our careers, especially in our careers as Black women, because the reality is Black women struggle with these ingredients at a much higher rate than any other race of women, and for
Yes.
many reasons. And for many reasons, however, yes, all women, all women face great challenges while climbing the career ladder. All
Yes.
women.
Yes.
And it's important to recognize that Black women have even greater challenges. We already have the fact that we're a woman working against us, and then add on the fact that we're Black, right? So we
Right.
have two things working against us, and so we use this recipe to protect ourselves and to prove our worth to the world and to others, while abandoning our true selves
Mm.
on that ladder, right?
Yes. Yep.
And so two things came up, and these are the last two things that we're going to discuss. And if anyone has questions, comments, anything, please drop it in the chat because we are here for it.
Yes.
So I'm trying to think of which I want to talk about first because they both, man, like I feel like, you know what? Let me tell you, I feel like we started off this conversation. It started off a little slow. Then it got in the oven. It got,
Yes.
listen, I'm rubbing the pillow because then
You
it
tell
got
her
it
to
got in the oven, and I'm really feeling it because it's a conversation, and it's a conversation that has been um brought to the mainstream, the challenges Black women are facing in leadership, the challenges that Black women are facing on their career ladder, on the climb to success, and all the hurdles we have to jump over just to have a success on our terms. And sometimes we never even get there because we go through our whole life jumping over hurdles, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but one thing, so we're gonna okay, I'm just gonna name them both because they're both hot. So
Okay.
one thing you even said earlier is using using this level of awareness and deciding when I am feeling like I have to use any of these ingredients, is this where I belong?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
number one. Number two is recognizing one, It is Mental Health Awareness Month, and
Yes.
recognizing how all of these ingredients impact our mental health and wellness.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I want to leave off with the mental health and wellness,
Okay.
just because it is Mental Health and Wellness. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. So when we think about these ingredients and how we use these ingredients to protect ourselves, I believe, and tell me what you think, says, but
Mm-hmm.
in any situation that you have to protect yourself from is not a situation you should be in, right? Because that is the definition of survival mode, right?
Mm.
Like I am constantly walking with a shield because I just feel like something's coming. I'm constantly trying to protect myself. So I just give without boundaries because I don't want people to think that I'm not a hard worker. So I'm gonna keep giving. That's the shield. I'm gonna keep giving. I'm gonna hide my true feelings because I don't want people to think that I'm weak. I don't want people to think that I don't got this. So I'm not gonna tell people how I really feel. I'm just gonna hide how I truly feel and just give in to what I think is expected of me, right? And then lastly, I am going I'm never going to ask for help because, again, I don't want to be seen as weak. I'm afraid that if I ask for help, they'll automatically believe that I'm not the person for the job, that I
Mm-hmm.
don't even deserve to be here. Why does she need so much help? And so we're using these ingredients to protect ourselves from more pain. In any
Exactly.
place where you have to protect yourself from pain is not a place you should be in,
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. There it goes.
right?
Exactly. You think about protecting yourself. I said, unfortunately, it's what we know. It's what was passed down to us.
Right?
So sometimes we're on, don't even know why we're on,
Hmm.
but it's because it's the journey that just continue, that keep going.
It keeps going. It's
It keeps going.
autopilot.
It's
It's
autopilot,
it's
right? I
autopilot.
saw my mom, I saw grandma.
Yep.
Everybody did it. They gave without boundaries.
Right.
So if that's all I know, then the word boundary itself is so foreign.
Yes.
Right. So
Very
we talk
foreign.
about the layers of it, like giving
Right.
without boundaries. First, I gotta recognize that boundaries is a thing and it's a
That
good thing.
boundaries is a thing, and I deserve to set boundaries.
Right, right,
And that setting boundaries does not make me a bad person. It does not
right.
make me a mean person. It makes me a person that's fully aware of my needs.
Exactly. So that's the mind shift there to say,
Right.
first, I have to change how I perceive the word boundaries.
Yes. Right.
No
Changing my
negative
relationship
tone.
with boundaries.
Right. Exactly. Changing my relationship with boundaries.
Right.
Not a
Right.
negative, not negative perspective, but the positives.
Right.
So then I
Absolutely.
began to say, like you said, I deserve to have boundaries. And then the layer of actually trying to set your first boundary,
But
right?
and as in recognizing though, so one thing I said earlier is, we can't give what we don't have. And so if we're constantly working without boundaries, we kind of set the expectations of others to work without boundaries, and we don't teach people how to work with us around boundaries. But when you learn how to set boundaries, especially as a leader, you can also now teach your team how to set boundaries and set boundaries for how your team works. When I
Mhm.
would be at work, I see it's 4:55, and one of my staff is it's 4:55, ma'am. You should be wrapping up.
Right,
Oh, but I got this. The work will be there tomorrow. And because they have also gotten used to giving without boundaries and proving themselves by staying at work late. Like I literally I had to take a stand on setting boundaries. And I had a team member who would always work overtime. And I can tell that she was trying to prove that, listen, I will get the job done. And I will tell her, please go home when
right.
it's time to go home. And I don't even care if you go home before it's time to go home. I want to make sure that you're well taken care of so that you can show up for work as your full self.
That's
And so
it.
she will always work overtime and then tell me, I'm so tired. I was here last night, but maybe I can get paid overtime. So I would tell her, I'm not paying you overtime.
Mm,
And when I stopped paying her overtime for working way past her time, I bet you her butt started going home.
right,
But
right,
not only did she start going home, she started to feel happier. She started
right,
to feel more rested because
mhm,
I'm not awarding you for burning yourself out, right?
right,
Like today, we are honored for exhaustion. We
Right.
are honored for burning ourselves out. We are
Hmm.
honored for doing the most. I'm not awarding that behavior, right?
Right.
But also, when you see me walking out this door, bye.
Right.
I'm not saying anything. I'm also setting the tone that we leave at the end of the day.
Right.
And
So
whatever is left, we'll get to it tomorrow.
that's it. That's it.
Right?
And that's how you know you start when the comment made about, are you in the right environment?
That's it.
Right? How are you feeling at the end of the day?
How you feeling at the end of the day?
Yep.
How are people responding to your boundaries?
Right.
How is your supervisor responding to your boundaries? How are
Right.
people responding to how you share your feelings? How you when you ask for what you need, how is your are your needs being met? Are is your supervisor saying, "Okay, I hear you. I got you. What else do you need?" Right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you are in an environment where you can ask for help? Right? Without feeling unworthy, without feeling inadequate. Has your supervisor created a space of support, right?
Right.
In recognizing that and being okay with saying this ain't it.
Exactly. And that's it. Being okay with I was reading a comment right now we have in the chat. It says, protecting yourself where you're no longer your natural self is a disservice. And
Absolutely.
the one exactly again, and it's your natural self, right? We talked about, as you
Absolutely.
say,
Your
climbing that
authentic self.
ladder,
That's right.
you're losing yourself. We tend to forget who we are naturally because in our natural
Absolutely.
selves is where we have our superpower, right? But when we're
Absolutely.
not in working in our environment that allows us to embrace our superpower, we're stripping down our natural self. So it's
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
That is so true. And I love this comment. When you start to show up as a version of you that you're not even happy with for the job, if
Hmm.
you can't be the same person inside the job that you are outside the job, it's time to ask yourself, is this where I belong? Thank
Right.
you. Thank you for your comment. Right?
Yes.
It's time to ask yourself, is this where I belong? And then having the courage to make that shift, right?
Right.
Because we also get so comfortable. We also
Mm,
get so comfortable in positions, especially if they pay well, if it's convenient. We get so comfortable, especially if you've been there for a long time and you're
yeah.
afraid of change. You're
Well,
afraid that what if I can't do something different? And that level of comfort, you'll never shift because, like we know, we don't grow it in our comfort zones. Hey, Manushka, right?
yeah.
We don't grow in our comfort zones. I'm so happy that she's here. Manushka was actually on my team in my last position. And one of my greatest things for me was empowering my team to feel like leaders and seeing her leave her position to step into a major leadership role
Come
made me
on.
feel like, yes, that's what. And my best people left and stepped into leadership, right?
That's it.
My best people left and stepped into leadership. She said I sent her home. Well, listen, I sent you to where you're supposed to be because I see myself as a servant leader. Like,
Right.
yeah, we're gonna make sure the job is done, but I'm gonna make sure you're good too. I'm
Right.
gonna make sure your needs are met, and I want to create an environment where people come in my office and cry.
Right.
Okay. When I sit down with my team, I don't just say, "Did you get your work done?" Is it no? How are you? That's
Yeah.
how I'm going to start every conversation with a team member because as a leader, it's your responsibility to know how your people are doing.
Right. And then you're just your the environment that you create, right?
That's right.
By you being naturally who you are in
That's
your
right.
power moving forward, it's such an inspiration to those around you that
Absolutely.
it creates an environment that folks give themselves permission
Permission.
to
That's right.
grow.
When you show up as your authentic self, you give others permission to show up as their authentic self.
That's
And
it.
that's one thing I love about I'm gonna toot my horn. I love about myself as a leader is I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna show up as me. I'll tell you how I feel. I'll tell you what I need. I'll tell you what my expectations are, and you don't have to worry about if I'm gonna be somebody else when I come in tomorrow.
Yep.
But I also want you to be honest with me. Tell
Yep.
me how you really feel. You're not
Right.
happy here. When my team, any of my team members said, I'm not happy here, I said, what can I do to support where you're going?
That's it.
How can I support you to your next? I will
Mhm.
always say, this is not your end all be all. So, what can I do as your leader to support you in your shift? That's always going
Mm.
to be my goal, right?
Right.
Um, but we've created environments where people are afraid to say I'm unhappy. My team members, when they was ready to leave, they came and said, I'm just letting you know right now, I'm be leaving about 3 months. You know why they felt comfortable with saying that? Because they know that I wanted to see them grow.
Right.
They know that
Right.
I wanted to see them be the very best, even better. When we worked together, they were great versions of themselves, and I want to see them to be even better versions of themselves. And because they know that, because they know I genuinely care about
Right.
who they are and their well-being, they were comfortable with saying, yeah, I'm gonna be leaving because I,
Yep.
I want a bigger opportunity, and I want that for you too. But they were also comfortable with saying, "Listen, I need 2 more hours of sleep. I'm tired. Okay, take care of yourself. I see you when you get to work. You should be able to ask for what you need.
Right. But you produce that environment
Absolutely.
that even, that they gave you the team that needed to get the job done. They didn't mind working.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Because my work that I'm putting in, I'm also receiving.
Yeah.
Right. It's not one-sided. It's a balanced scale.
Yes, absolutely. And
We're
she
all
said,
building and growing together.
so she put
So
in here like you make sure to remind us that we're human first.
that's right.
Absolutely.
That's
Um,
right.
and that's what it is. Sometimes we forget that we're human
Hmm.
and we operate like robots, like, oh, I can do it, I can do all the things, and we forget all the needs that we have in order to fully function as our best selves in any role. If you want to bring your full self to leadership, you have to fill yourself, right?
That's it.
So full
Fulfill.
fill, right?
Fulfill.
Full
Yeah.
fill.
Come
All
on,
right.
John.
If you want to bring your full self into leadership, you have to fill yourself, right? That
Yes.
is what is required to be an impactful and transformational leader in any position,
Yes.
in any
Fulfill.
position, right? And
Mm-mm.
so I I know that with that recipe, I was not filling myself with that
Mm-mm.
recipe. I had to make a shift to a recipe that filled me so that I can fill others.
Yep. And you
Right.
had to do that shift physically and mentally.
Right. And so, but when you are working in an environment that does not encourage filling,
Mm.
your leader should encourage filling. Let me tell you something. By the time I left my job, everybody was drinking green smoothies. Everybody was on a workout regimen.
That's
I'm
it.
telling you,
That's
because
it.
it was the environment I created. We are going to be healthy. Listen, if I was doing something, I'll be like, what you doing? Oh, I'm doing a fast. Okay, I'm gonna fast with you. Like,
Yep.
I shared everything I did. I gave encouragement. I gave advice. Oh yeah, you should try this. By the time I left my job, everybody was working out. They was doing yoga. They was drinking
Yeah.
smoothies.
Yeah.
Because that was the energy I put in. I
Right.
want to fill your cup. And the main way to fill someone's cup is to keep your cup full. Because
That's
where
it.
do we pour from, sis?
From the
The
inside.
overflow,
Yep.
right?
Let's go.
The best way to fill someone else's cup is to keep your cup full because you pour from
Um,
overflow. And
that's
if
it.
you're working in an environment where all they do is suck out of you, right?
Mm.
Where all they do is take and never encourage you, that one, they don't fill and they don't encourage you to get full.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to take a step back and really ask yourself, is this the environment I'm supposed to be in? Because they are sucking me dry. That's what we call the energy vampires. I left
Yep.
my job. I left my job because they were sucking literally sucking the life out of me. And when
Yep.
my best team players left, I knew it was time for me to.
Time to go.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I said, look at that shit. I done coached my people up out of here.
Yep. Yep. And you just like, wait a minute. Why am I still here? And so it's crazy. Like, and you have to listen to yourself.
Yes.
Because when you're not in that right environment, trust me, you will never feel settled. You
No.
will never ever, like you said, things just start leaving.
Yeah.
Folks just start leaving, and I'm
And you
sitting,
just sitting there.
but I'm feeling restless. Like, what is going on?
Right. And
you
nothing's
know,
changing. And
nothing's
nothing's
changing.
changing. Right.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. This is that was a hit. All
that's
right.
it.
Lastly, recognizing that this is Mental Health Awareness Month
Yes.
and recognizing how this recipe of giving without boundaries, hiding your true feelings, and never asking for help can take a major toll on your mental health.
Hmm.
Sis,
Yes.
I literally thought I was going insane. I mean, I remember when I was so deep in survival mode at my job, and not only because just the systems that they had in place were not conducive to my success, but also I was in a very toxic environment working with people who were straight up bullies. When I say bullies, straight,
Mm,
and not really having the support I needed to deal with the situation. I don't think I've ever felt this level of depressed in my
mm,
life. Like,
mm.
I've gone through some depressions, but this depression was different.
Yep.
My hair started falling out.
Mm,
I couldn't sleep. I had canker sores in my mouth.
yep.
I I came to work every day and I just felt exhausted. I couldn't think. I literally could not do anything. Yes, they're happy Mental
Mental
Health
health.
Awareness
That's
Month.
that's
Yes,
right.
welcome,
That's
welcome,
right.
mindfully melanated. Um, and because I was in the survival mode and just on autopilot, doing all the things that I'm supposed to
Mm,
be doing, I didn't recognize that it was how I was showing up that was contributing to my mental health struggle. Yes, here's the thing, the job's gonna be the job,
that's it.
the
Mm-hmm.
people are gonna be the people. You have no control over how people show up, over how people treat you. We can't control that, but we can control how we respond. And
Right.
responding by turning up the heat on the recipe, you
Mm,
know, giving more, hiding my feelings even deeper,
yep.
not asking for help that I really needed, it
Yep.
took me over the edge. And my mental health just completely crashed.
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I resonate, man. When I turned up my heat, I remember now that I, look back on it in my moments of like, I became so numb. I couldn't even feel anymore. I couldn't feel the heat. I became so numb. I was so good at that robotic mode. I remember being at my own father's funeral and saying like, I'm supposed to be crying here, but I can't feel.
You can't feel
I
your
can't feel. But now I gotta be picture perfect. Cry. You're supposed to be crying, right? And it's just that crazy. Like you become so numb that you don't
yes.
even feel, but you don't even realize that you're numb.
And you're just moving.
Just
Just move.
going.
It's like you're like a zombie. Literally, like we literally, when your mental health declines and just continues to decline, you literally become a zombie. You're just moving.
Just moving. And you know what? The crazy part is I sat there and I was at the funeral and I'm not crying, but how was I perceived?
Yeah.
Oh,
As a
she's
strong black
strong.
woman,
Woo, she's strong.
as a strong black woman. You were
Strong.
perceived as a strong black woman. And we have Regina from Mindful and Melanated, who is sharing that she can relate to that feeling of numbness. And for those of you who don't know, Regina, Mindful and Melanated, will be having their annual Mindful and Melanated
Yes.
Strong Black Women Conference coming up this year. You don't want to miss it,
Nope.
where
Nope.
these are the things that are highlighted, right?
Yep.
So I'm numb, but I'm still getting it done. I'm tired, but I'm still getting it done. I can't even feel my face. I don't even know what I need right now. I'm not eating, I'm not sleeping, but I'm still getting it done because
Yep.
I'm a strong black woman.
Mm-hmm.
Because I got this.
Got this.
Because
Right.
I was raised to carry the weight,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's how we show up in leadership. That's how
Yep.
we show up in our leadership roles and our positions as the women who are suffering in silence. I mean,
Suffer.
literally suffering the silence. And as we've seen, the results of that
Yep. The
has
mental
been
impact. Mm-hmm.
women committing suicide,
Mm.
heart attack, high blood pressure,
Yep.
anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety at an all-time high, right?
Stress.
All
Stress.
of the things, and still not realizing I need to make a shift.
Yep.
I need to make a shift.
Oh,
I think it's important, as we get ready to wrap up,
yeah.
it's important for all of us as women, to one, own your feelings,
Mm-hmm.
right? Give space to your feelings. Trust your feelings. There's this book called The Body Keeps the Score. I love that book because it really talks about how your body really holds on to pain and trauma, but it's also always giving you signals and
Mm-hmm.
telling you
Yes.
something is wrong. And we ignore it so often until it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to wait for tragedy to make a shift. That
Nope.
is that is the one message. If you didn't get nothing out of this podcast this evening, which I want to say I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yes,
And
me too.
thank you, Nicole, for joining me. If you don't get anything else out of this podcast, it's understanding that you do not have to wait for tragedy to make a decision, to make a shift.
Nope.
You already have the anxiety. You're already feeling stressed out. You're already exhausted. You're
Mm-hmm.
already struggling with insomnia. You're right. All the signs are already there. You don't need to wait for more signs. You don't need to wait for it to get worse before you say, I am worth more than this. I deserve more. But more importantly, is getting to the root of those challenges. I got to the root by identifying the recipe, identifying that it was me, not them.
Mm-hmm.
It was me. It was how I was showing up. It was
Yep.
my thoughts about myself. It was my beliefs about my worthiness, my beliefs about my ability to ask for support and to really believe that people would support me. It was me, not them.
That's right.
And the moment you can get into that mindset shift, you can take your power back to design the life you truly desire.
Mm-hmm.
What you
Exactly.
saying?
Yeah, that this is why I go into my line of work as a coach.
Yep.
I work with my clients to hit that reboot button on life because we all deserve, regardless of our circumstances, dependents, careers, financials, to hit that reboot button and begin to move forward in our purpose and live happier and healthier lifestyles.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
it's that journey that we are talking about right now,
Absolutely.
recognizing the recipe. and
Yes.
then going on that journey to begin. And I can't
Crea-
wait to when we talk about the big
Yeah.
recipe,
Right.
creating the new
Right. We
recipes.
might have to invite some other folks in that
Yeah,
conversation, right?
yeah, yeah. But yeah,
Own,
that's why. That's
yeah,
it.
owning your power to create a new recipe, right? To redefine success on your terms. Growing up, we were told what success is. Success is
Mm,
the money, success is the marriage, success is the car,
the
success is the white
title.
picket fence, success
Mm-hmm.
is the titles.
Mm-hmm.
We were told that that's what success looks like. And so we follow the guidelines. I call it recipe. You could call it guidelines. You can call it the blueprint. You can
Blueprint.
call it whatever you want.
That's
But
it.
we follow what we were given to achieve the success that we were told, that the success that was defined for us.
Mm,
However, when you begin to recognize the root cause of your challenges, you can take your
yeah.
power back to redefine that success. The other thing, though, keeping in mind is sometimes the root cause is painful, right?
Mm,
Yes, going back and saying, wow, it was these things that my grandmother taught me that's contributing to my pain. And we don't want to talk about because that's grandma.
right.
That's grandma.
Right.
Grandma did, what she was had to do. And grandma, all grandmas are great. My grandma was absolutely great.
Yes.
And I can recognize where I needed to make a shift in how I
Hmm.
was raised.
Right.
I appreciate everything she's done, and I can recognize where there needs to be a change. Identifying and bringing awareness to those painful root causes, calling out family trauma. My
Mm,
grandmother followed this recipe because she was in survival mode. The trauma of racism, the trauma of being a foreigner, a
yeah.
black woman, and she had three things
All
against
of
her.
that.
She was a foreigner, she was black, and she was a woman. That was traumatizing all on its own in those days.
Hmm.
And it's still traumatizing today, right?
Right.
It might
Exactly.
be a different form of trauma, but that was traumatizing. And this was her survival mechanism that she passed on to me in hopes that I wouldn't have to go through as much as she did. And of course I did. However, it was a survival mechanism to survive the trauma, to just get through life, get through the world. The reality is survival mode will kill you.
It will. It'll crush
Living
you.
is period. Living in survival mode will crush your spirit, crush your mental health,
Hmm.
crush your physical body,
Yep.
crush your soul. It will crush your relationships. It will literally kill you from the inside out.
Yep.
Survival mode will kill you.
Yep.
I was in survival mode. My grandma was in survival mode. Unfortunately, she passed because of
Mm,
survival mode, and I was on the same path. Recognizing that is not a disgrace, right? It's not you bringing disgrace to your family. It's not you saying your family wasn't good enough. It's you recognizing that there is something wrong, and then having an opportunity to break the cycle.
right.
It's an opportunity to break the cycle of survival mode in your life, of survival mode in your family, of
Yep.
survival mode in the people that you have an opportunity to lead. When
Hmm.
you break it, the cycle, the breaking of the cycle can start with you.
Yep.
It's an opportunity to lift your family up. It's an
Yep.
opportunity to allow to support your family members and making a shift so that they
Yep.
can have happier, healthier lives. And as a leader, you will help to make a shift in the lives of those you lead. I know
Exactly.
for a fact that everyone that was led under my leadership, I when I left them, they were more confident people.
That's it.
Period. Because I'm going to lead with confidence and I'm going to pump confidence into you. Period.
That's it.
Right?
And then it
So
carries
don't be
on.
afraid. Yes, don't be afraid to call it out. Call it out because Listen, you can't heal what you're afraid to reveal,
Right.
right?
Right. I always, it's so funny. Ever since this acronym for me with fear,
Yeah,
with the fear, you can either, FEAR,
I
face
love this.
everything and rise, or face everything and run.
Yes,
So, it's like now that's how we talk about mental health. It's how I shift my mindset when I start to recognize that there's fear here.
yes,
I can face it and run, or I can face it and rise.
yes.
And just the rise even sounds better, so you're motivated to go that way.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. And that reality of being human is fear is a natural emotion.
it is.
So it has its space in your life, right? And you get to decide what you do with it. And like you said, you can either run or rise, right? You get to decide what you do with that fear.
That's it.
And know that whatever decision you make, you have to live with it. We
Hmm.
can no longer point the fingers. I could continue to live life in survival mode and say, this is how I was raised. That's all I know. Or I can say, I'm owning my power to do
Mm.
something different. I'm
Yep.
owning my power to break the chains, right? To break the change and to be
Yep.
free to create a new life, to create a
Hmm.
new definition of success.
That's it.
Success for me, the definition of success for me
Yep.
is
Yep.
healthy.
That's it.
Health, period. As long as I'm healthy, as long as I can smile, I'm not over here struggling with my mental health. And I have my days, don't get me wrong, but
Right.
I don't live there. I,
Mm-mm.
I let the emotion come by, do what it got to do, and get the hell out. Right?
Yeah.
I don't live there anymore. So being a healthier, happier version of me, even if I'm not making 6 or 7 figures, even
Yeah.
if I don't have these titles, even
Yeah.
if I don't drive a Benz or a BMW, or I don't have $1 million house, I don't need that to be healthy.
Right. Because you just named everything so materialistic that could get taken away, but what you want is what
Period.
money can't buy.
Money can't buy
You can't buy
health
this. No, you
or
can't buy
happiness.
that self. You brought up a good point with success is that's another thing that folks have to define. What is success for you? Because what
That's
success
right.
looks like for you is different from me.
That's
And when
right.
I define my level of success, because once I know that this is what success, and I mean in detail,
That's right.
I want to be successful. What does that mean?
What does that
Because
mean?
when I know where I'm going,
Right.
where I know where I'm going to my success,
Right.
my journey is amazing
Yeah. Once you
because
have that vision,
right, that's
that
it.
vision, clear vision of success in front of you, then you know the steps you need to take because you have now defined. And guess what? Everyone's not going to agree with your definition of success.
No,
Your success wasn't a conference call. Your inspiration, your gifts, your power, your strength. Listen, they were given to you to be successful in your right.
yeah, right.
And so
Exactly.
we cannot rely on the thoughts and opinions of others. And that's why you also have to be careful who you share that vision with. Share
Mm,
your vision with dreamers. Share your vision with people who think big, who aren't limited by circumstances,
right.
who aren't limited by recipes,
Mm-hmm. Right.
right?
Right.
So being mindful of that as well. Well, I just want to say that this was a super dope conversation. It was a
Super
lot of
dope.
fun.
Yeah, yeah, I'm on that. This was amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
And everybody who like put the comments and share, like being just part of the energy. Yes,
Yes, yes, I
exactly.
love that. Success for me is having peace of mind, peace over profit all
Peace.
day. Let
There
me tell
you
you
go.
something. I tell people all the time. I quit my job back in October. I definitely haven't had the income that I had to, and I ain't never been happier.
Come on.
I ain't never been happier,
And
right?
relief, right? You feel like
And
this sense of
relieved,
relief.
but I also feel powerful because I made a decision for me. I
Mm-hmm.
made a decision for me.
That's
right?
it.
Not based on what I thought other people would think of me, how people would respond to me. I made a decision for me, and that alone boosted my power and my confidence. And so, I just want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for your comments. Thank you, Coach Cola, for just being a part of this discussion. Next
Yes.
week, we're going to do a deep dive into the big recipe. Like I said, today we discussed root causes, we discussed breaking the cycle, right? And understanding how we have the power to redefine what leadership looks and feels like for
Yes.
us, what that career path looks and feels like for us. It doesn't have to be daunting. Leadership, your career journey is supposed to be fulfilling. It's not supposed to be stressful. It's not supposed to be anxiety driven. If you're feeling any of those things, chances are you are climbing the ladder in the wrong direction,
That's
right?
it.
Get
That's
off the
it.
ladder, sis. Get
Get off it. Get off it.
off
Listen
the
to
ladder.
yourself. Trust yourself.
Yes.
You know.
Thank you
I'm here.
all. And until next time, walk in power.
Yes. Peace. Bye, guys.